by 25 basis points. We are going back into the discussion of India-Russia summit that is currently taking place in New Delhi. High stakes deals on the table. If I can go back to my panelists, let me go across to Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, who's also with us on this broadcast. We were talking about how important defense cooperation is in this entire summit when we talk, because there are a lot of deals on the table on that front. How do you look at that? Because just before Putin actually arrived in India, the Russian Duma ratified something called the Reloc Pact, or the Relocation of Logistical Support Pact. And that is very important, sir, when we take into picture the entire strategic alliance of India and Russia, when we take into account the geopolitical scenario, because India gets access to the Arctic, Russia gets access to the Indian Ocean in all forms, in all, whether be it joint exercises, in times of emergencies, in times of disaster relief, and even in times of training. So this opens up a lot of avenues for both our militaries, sir.
Yes, Shivani, this is indeed very, very important for us. Access to the Arctic may mean joint oil exploration, joint oil development. There's a lot of oil in the Arctic, and the parts of it which are in Russian waters can be tapped by us jointly. As far as the Indian Ocean is concerned, it is important for the Russians to be here. You know, it is a bilateral arrangement by which we will achieve a force multiplier, their navies plus ours, particularly their nuclear submarines, to monitor and patrol these waters, which will go a long way. There is also quite a lot of development, as we can see, towards an RIC developing. So while the India-China relationship will probably proceed cautiously on both sides, it is definitely moving towards some kind of pact between Russia, India, and China, which will reduce tensions as well as increase economic and military benefits. So all this is on the cards. Now, talking immediate requirements, one is the Su-57, for which, in my opinion, we need to order 7 squadrons, which are to be made here in India at the Su factory, which has already been surveyed by the Russians, and they have said that it is quite possible to ramp it up to make the Su-57 here, complete with technology transfer. The other is ramping up the relationship on BrahMos to the next level, both in terms of exports. We need to agree that this can be exported. There are a number of countries in the Middle East and the Asia Pacific region who want to buy this missile. Now, both Russia and India must agree on doing this, and we also need to make a new BrahMos with greater range, firepower, speed, etc., which can also be made in India with Russian cooperation. The third is getting the 2 S-400 squadrons, which we have already ordered, which are due in 26. They need to arrive quickly. They have proved themselves, along with the BrahMos, very ably in Sindoor recently, and we need them. And we also want to order 2 more sets of the S-400. And that, I hope, all these things will be specifically mentioned. Nuclear cooperation in the Navy, as you've mentioned, you and Megha, that the nuclear fuel has come in for Kundan Kalam, but we are also working on small reactors of our own. And while we have almost arrived at a pact, or have arrived at a pact with Canada, we could use more nuclear fuel. So these are all on the cards. I think we should proceed boldly with our relationship with Russia. All the commercial bilaterals that will try and reduce the trade deficit are also very important, particularly in a ruble-rupee trade mechanism, perhaps some digital trade on UPI, a lot of facilities for Indian tourists to go to Russia, and of course the labor contracts that are being worked on. All of this is extremely worthwhile, and if there is a little bit of leaning towards the RIC, I don't think Trump can do very much about pressuring us, because he is badly in need of Chinese cooperation.
Absolutely. In
Shivani.
fact, let me take that point across to Bipin Sharma, who's also with us. Mr. Sharma, when we talk about RIC, when we talk about US sanctions, we have seen the Western world actually trying to dominate, say for example, the East. But here we have both the leaders actually putting forth a stance that no matter the sanctions, we stand together, we will continue our deals, and in fact we will make sure that our trade volumes and that cross the $100 billion mark. As per your understanding, we understand that this is great posturing by both the leaders, but do you think there could be a downside to this? This might ruffle some feathers?
It will definitely ruffle many feathers and send shivers down the spine of Pakistan, China and US, not to forget. So now, our friendship with Russia has stood the test of time, and Russia is our trusted friend. And if we take into consideration what happened during the Pahalgam terror attacks, it was Russia who was in the forefront and outrightly condemned the dastardly terror attack. And of course, the perpetrators, we all know it was done at whose behest. So, and compare it with the US. The US was very shrewd in its condemning these dastardly terror attacks, and it said that Pakistan and India both are its friends. So now, with this Putin visit to India, a new chapter of history is going to be written. And defense, as we all know, has always been the backbone of our ties. So the focus is going to be on the defense deals which are going to be inked, and of course technology transfer, because let us not forget that technology transfer holds the key, because that India has always been emphasizing on technology transfer. It leads to cost cutting, then creation of more job opportunities here in India, and then of course less dependency on the international suppliers. So in such a scenario, now it augurs well, this particular visit, because that is the need of the hour. As far as Russia is concerned, it needs India. India is Mr. Dependable for Russia, because Russia was globally isolated, and then the massive sanctions which were imposed, and then of course this talk about frozen assets, and Russia making a giving a very clear-cut signal that if anything is done vis-a-vis the frozen assets, then it will be treated as an act of war. So now, this bonhomie is in full display, and of course the naysayers may have their own take on this. The skeptics will view it with a different, will have their own take. But then this particular visit is the dawn of a new era and a lot to look forward to, because what happened when Prime Minister went to Shanghai for the SCO summit, and then those pictures spoke volumes about the three world leaders, the global leaders meeting on one forum, Putin, Jinping, and then Narendra Modi. So that must have ruffled many feathers and made America, US restless. Because Trump is on this spree of imposing hefty tariffs. So India is not going to cave into any such pressure, and very important to make a mention of the fact that India is not going to be subjugated to any nuclear blackmail threat. That is a given. So if Pakistan especially thinks that they can again and again blackmail us with the nuclear threat, so I think that is not going to happen, because India is much more strong, and the power of New India is being hailed and acknowledged globally, the world over. So I think this era definitely belongs to India, provided we make that kind of perception. Perception matters. It can make all the difference in the world, and lot to look forward during this visit, because the Russian president has come along with the 9 ministers. So I think that also carries immense significance, because energy space, the crude oil, and then of course S-400s, Su-57, and India would be pushing for the pharmaceuticals, the medicines, the chemicals, the fishery, the meat products. So, this will be very monumental, this very eventful visit, and bonhomie camaraderie will be on full
Absolutely,
display.
Mr. Sharma. I think the entire timing of the summit also is drawing a lot of eyebrows, because this is at a time when both the countries are facing sanctions. This is at a time when both the countries are under pressure. But that's what you have mentioned, that perspective of both the leaders actually coming together is the most important. Major Muhammad Ali Shah, defense expert, is also joining us on the broadcast. Major Shah, if I could rope you into this discussion, we were talking about how defense forms the cornerstone of most of the deals that India and Russia are talking about in this summit, and defense has always been the cornerstone of our friendship throughout the years, when we have been seeing it since the Cold War. But this new defense structure that India is actually talking about, sir, I want your perspective on that, because when we are talking about, say for example, the Su-57 or the BrahMos advanced missile, India is looking at technology transfer. India is looking at production chains inside the country. We had the US, in fact, pressuring us to buy that F-35, which is also